Coming up,
What a character. Well, everyone's in shock. It's really hard to connect the dots.
a Hollywood tragedy.
Right here, he's guarding her.
The dog?
Yeah.
The last lonely days of Gene Hackman's life.
Strength.
Hey, buddy.
What really went on inside his mansion.
So not even being able to call for help. Oh, it's so sad.
That's next on 60 Minutes.
In Hollywood, Gene Hackman was a titan, a truly great actor. He captivated audiences, starring in 80 movies. But Gene also knew when to call time on his career. 20 years ago, battling health issues, he and wife Betsy moved to New Mexico for a more private and peaceful life. In typical Hackman style, he faded from view with little fanfare. That is until 2 months ago, when he and Betsy were found dead inside their home under mysterious circumstances. The tragedy of what happened, along with the final weeks of Gene's life, is wrenching. Sadly, he'll never know it, but his story is one of the most important this icon has ever told.
Right here, he's guarding her.
The dog?
Yeah.
The scene was as intriguing as it was tragic. When police descended on the home of actor Gene Hackman and wife Betsy in Santa Fe, New Mexico, they were initially confused by what confronted them.
When's the last time you heard from her?
2.5 weeks ago.
As this video, freshly released by the Sheriff's Department, reveals, they first came across the body of 65-year-old Betsy, collapsed on a bathroom floor, with her 95-year-old husband nowhere in sight.
Where is he?
He's actually, I don't know how to get there through here.
As police entered the main part of the house, everything appeared to be in order, neat and virtually untouched.
Are these doors all open or?
Until they discovered Gene's body near the front doorway.
Two totally separate areas.
No, it's strength.
One dead dog.
Well, everyone's in shock. It is just horrible. And it is for, two people so classy and so dignified and wonderful, giving people. It's really hard to connect the dots. It doesn't work for me right now.
For Gene and Betsy's close friends, Doug Lanham and Tom Allen, the news was sudden and heart-wrenching. So how did you find out about this tragedy?
The headlines, I got up and saw that Gene Hackman had died, which is something that wasn't unexpected given his age of 95. Finding out that she had died was a shock. I couldn't believe that had possibly happened.
The Hackman deaths, discovered on the 26th of February, have not just dismayed their closest friends and family. The world has been shocked by the lonely end suffered by this Hollywood great and his beautiful and accomplished wife, Betsy. A finale as mysterious and dramatic as any of Hackman's on-screen roles.
One of the deputies commented just how strange it was that both Gene and Betsy Arakawa Hackman appeared to have dropped where they stood.
This is an ending that perhaps no one in Hollywood would have imagined or would have written for this couple.
No, in fact, this really isn't the ending anyone foresaw for Gene Hackman's life.
For film critic Peter de Bruges from entertainment magazine Variety, Gene Hackman was one of his favourite actors, who he hopes will be remembered for how he lived, not how he died.
If you're relying on testimony to win this case, you've already lost it, fella.
There are parts of his life that actually feel like they're really perfect for a Hollywood movie one of these days.
But who would play Gene Hackman?
Who could?
And the Oscar goes to Gene Hackman in Unforgiven.
An Oscar winner twice over, with 80 films across a 40-year career, Hackman brought a simmering intensity to his roles.
My needs are small.
Even his comedic ones.
I have this affinity for beachfront property.
What do you want?
Australia.
It's such a loss. You know, Gene Hackman was such an incredible actor who gave us a solid 40 years of incredible, iconic, you know, roles that defined American cinema, and especially the moment in American cinema when it really came alive and became modern.
His death, on the other hand, was so off-script, it's still hard to imagine.
Hey, hello, I think we just found one deceased person inside the house.
Are they moving at all?
No, dude, they're not moving. Just send somebody up here really quick.
With no word from the Hackmans for more than a fortnight, it was the couple's devastated handyman who made the confronting discovery.
It's just a normal person, you know, and all of a sudden to see that, both of them, bro. I'm sorry.
Betsy was in a partially mummified state, on the floor in the bathroom, with medicine scattered around her. Gene had collapsed near the front entrance, next to his cane and sunglasses. The scene immediately raised the suspicions of investigators.
It's not normal to find 2 people deceased in the residence. That's concerning. And then there was also a dog that was in a kennel that was also found deceased.
Zinna, their Australian Kelpie mix, was found dead in her crate. And even though it was discovered later she had died from starvation and dehydration, the rumour mill went wild. In those initial days following the initial reports, what was some of the speculation about what had happened to them?
You know, I think there were fears that this could have been sort of a murder-suicide situation, and we were really waiting for the police and the professionals to answer it.
It smells like gas.
You smell gas?
It smells
So
like
if there was a gas leak and they both went down.
So it's not on, but you can smell it.
There was some suggestion or fear of poisoning, given that there were multiple deaths in the one house.
Yeah, and the thing that was so tragic, I think, about this was the mystery, the circumstances of his death. And you really didn't want to let your imagination go too crazy. You just hoped that it was maybe the most merciful version of what we were hearing.
For the couple's close friend, Doug Lanham, the conjecture was unbearable.
It's very hard for me to talk about. Of course, everyone's speculating. Well, it could, you know, this could have happened. This come on, let's just remember them for who they are.
What the world did not know was that Gene had been in the grip of advanced Alzheimer's, and Betsy had been his sole carer. But perhaps most wrenching and shocking of all was to learn that Betsy had died first, a whole week ahead of Gene.
How many days has it been?
Since last contact? Yeah. 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks?
And they don't really see them. No one really sees them other than phone texts.
They're very private people.
For friend Tom Allen, the death of Betsy, Gene's protector and lifeline, transformed this mystery into an unthinkable tragedy.
I can't imagine it. You know, what happened that last week.
The cause of death for Miss Betsy Hackman, aged 65 years, is hantavirus.
Adding to the bizarre nature of their demise was the cause of Betsy's unexpected death. She had contracted hantavirus, a rare but often deadly disease spread by the droppings, urine and saliva of rodents. It presents as a bad flu, which often leads to sudden respiratory failure.
It was hard reading about it because at a certain point, it's fatal. I mean, she needed care 4 to 5 days earlier, immediate care, emergency care, and unfortunately didn't realize the situation.
The cause of death for Mr. Gene Hackman, aged 95 years, is hypertensive and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, with Alzheimer's disease as a significant contributory factor.
A week after Betsy died, unable to care for himself, Gene succumbed to his bad heart and Alzheimer's disease.
Thinking about it, I mean, Betsy is she really did take on quite a challenge being the caretaker, and she didn't have somebody taking care of her.
But she never reached out. She never said, I need help.
I mean, I wish I would have been there immediately. I mean, it was something that I just felt so bad about, if we could have helped them.
So what happened in the last week of Gene Hackman's life? As you're about to see, with Betsy gone, he was never more alone.
It just brings you to your knees.
For the last 20 years of his life, actor Gene Hackman, with his wife Betsy, enjoyed retirement away from the Hollywood spotlight here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Life was filled with painting, music, their beloved dogs, and dear friends like Tom Allen and Doug Lanham. What was Gene like?
For me, he was a prankster. I had a big target on my back. He just loved playing jokes on me. And he's like a kid. He's like a kid.
They were an example of a couple that really cared for each other. And I think they really got a lot out of life.
And those memories obviously bring you a lot of joy and happiness.
They really do. I mean, I was so blessed to have that opportunity, and would, pinch myself that we had an opportunity to have that kind of a relationship. But for us, it was a relationship with Gene and Betsy, not a movie star.
But since COVID, while the couple stayed in contact with family and friends, they didn't venture far from home. Few knew the challenges they faced, as Gene's Alzheimer's robbed him not only of his memory, but also his autonomy.
Betsy was looking after Gene their whole marriage, and I know she was protecting him. She was doing all she could to care for him. She would have been reluctant to have anybody in the house. She certainly would have been reluctant to send him into a hospice, so she was doing everything herself.
What happened was unthinkable. 30 years his junior, no one could foresee that 65-year-old Betsy would die first, leaving Gene, 95, all alone. When Betsy died suddenly and in that shocking way, did that necessarily spell the end for Gene Hackman?
I think Betsy was the person who kept him at home and really did his thinking for him and prompted him in all his day-to-day activities of daily living.
So without her, he couldn't have survived?
Definitely not.
One of Australia's leading experts in Alzheimer's and dementia care, Professor Susan Curl, says Gene Hackman's death represents one of the saddest aspects of Alzheimer's, with the disease rendering sufferers virtually helpless.
So he was still able to do some things on his own, but clearly not eat or look after the dog, or look after Betsy.
Or look after himself.
Or look after himself.
So not even being able to call for help, leave the house, go to the neighbours, incapable of doing that.
If you think of dementia as childhood development backwards, Gene Hackman was at maybe the 12-month child stage, so he needed help to do everything, and that's what Betsy was doing.
I think what horrifies many people is what happened in that house for that week after Betsy died. What would Gene have been doing?
It's very doubtful whether Gene would have recognised that she was dead. It's more likely he assumed she was asleep, and he may have simply walked away and perhaps walked around and then come back. He comes back to her, he sees her again, but he's forgotten.
It's impossible to know the level of distress Gene suffered with the death of his beloved Betsy, but it's hoped his disease protected him from the worst. Is there some relief in the sense that he may not have had the ability to suffer anguish or grief because of his memory loss?
I think that's one of the blessings. of dementia, and there's very few, but with his very advanced dementia, it is more likely he just walked around.
Do you think Betsy would have known of the risks of being a sole carer, that his life was in her hands?
Clearly she hadn't thought that far ahead. I guess she was considerably younger than he was. She was fit and well until the disease that killed her. So she probably wasn't thinking that. Also, I think she was reluctant to have other people come in and see the level of function that Gene had lost, the man he'd turned into. And I think she was protecting him from that.
You just can't imagine what she was going through and supporting Gene to the end.
We understand why you're so upset. It must be very hard for you to think about your vibrant friend, Gene Hackman, who ran at life, grabbed it with both hands, to know that he was so frail in those last days that he couldn't get help, couldn't get out of the house.
It just brings you to your knees.
Our community lost a giant, Gene Hackman. Gene always said, I don't think about legacy. I just hope people remember me as someone who tried to do good work. You'll be remembered for that and for so much more.
It's really, really hard. But I also think of the incredible life that he had at 95 years and the joy that he had with Betsy, and especially these last 25 years. He had an incredible life.
We got a glimpse of that incredible life on the big screen. But for his Santa Fe mates, forget Best Actor, Gene Hackman was best friend, who, with his wife Betsy, will always be missed. And it's that, not the manner of their deaths, they wish to remember. Your grief speaks volumes for how much you cared for these people, so thank you for sharing it with us.
You're welcome. We were very lucky. Very lucky. And it was just a fun time. Just a fun time. So many stories. And, you just walk away going, what a character. What a character. He's just such a great guy.
On this week's 60 Minutes podcast, Extra Minutes, what's to be learned from Gene Hackman's lonely death and how there are so many more cases just like his all around the world.
Once you reach the age of 85, 1 in 3 are likely to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia. By the time you reach 90, 1 in 2.
It's incredible.
That's Extra Minutes, available now on your favourite podcast apps.